Hey everybody, Benjaminkitsymons here. So I'm making this video because I've just got Sonokinetic Ostinato strings. I was going to do a talk through video about how it works, what I like, what it does, all that kind of stuff. But I thought there's plenty of those around. So let's do a comparison between ostinato strings and Native Instruments action strings, as they both claim to do relatively similar things. So we'll compare the sound, what we like, what they do that's different. But then I thought we'd expand on that and add in a couple of libraries where us traditionalists potentially would have to draw in these patterns manually as such here. So in those instances, I've got Cinesamples, Cinesymphony Lite, and Spitfire Audio, and there's Albion 2 and 3, which is around here. So I've written a chord progression. It loops 4 times using the different samples. We'll listen through and then we'll discuss. All right, that's the 4 sounds. Sorry, I was trying to like show you what it was as it was happening relatively unsuccessfully. So 4 very different sounding libraries there. I'm going to try and avoid imparting my opinion on the matter. I think I know which ones I like better. I think I know which ones I think don't sound as good as others. You know, oh, there you go. There was a clue if ever you're looking for one. That's just my opinion. I don't know why, but I'm not going to give you any opinions. So there. So interestingly, I actually really like the sound of ostinato strings. The thing that, I mean, maybe it's because it's new and it's going to take me a while to get used to. The thing that bugs me is, you know, I'm not a piano player, so I don't know all the chords in the world, for example. So, and this is very chord based, so it's not going to trigger a sample if you hit one note. You have to hit a chord, and if it doesn't know that chord, no sound will happen. So, you know, you need to know your shit for it to be any good. And I find it quite fiddly messing around with lots of key switches, and this is heavily driven on key switches. So you'll see, if I play this one again, you'll see stuff jumping around, and that's the these key switches here triggering you know, what pattern I want it to play. So you'll see things moving around. And what this is doing is you've got the option here to have your bass and your trebles, or treble clef shit, whatever you want to call it, synced or non-synced. So pressing this button means that the key switches will move everything in unison. So I've unchecked it so I can have things separate. So I can have the bass line doing this chug and have the higher melodies alternating. Do you know what I mean? So you can do that, which is quite cool. For reference, I've not added anything, so everything in this is totally dry. What I did find quite surprising about this library is the sheer volume of memory it needs. I initially opened up the 24-bit versions, and it was 2 gig, maybe something along those lines, with a 16 gigs, 0.99. But if you want to add in another mic position and have a blend of 2 mic positions, it jumps up massively. It's enormous, and I get why, because they've obviously built a lot of information into one patch. Basically, there's not multiple patches to choose from. So there are multiple pros and cons, I think, between these two things. I think the thing that I don't like is the restriction in terms of this is purely chord based, so you can't really do a single note pattern, and by no means can you do an actual ostinato type melody. So you couldn't do a that wouldn't work. So it has to be purely chords, unless I haven't worked out how to do that yet. But as far as I can tell, you can't. Action strings, I had to use 2 patches because you can't do bass and all the treble stuff in one. Well, I don't think so anyway. So I had to do 2, which is fine. And I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it's easy to set up. It's easy to use. I like that you can hit a key and it will start making sound. You don't need to like hit certain chords. So I guess in some sense that you've got some more freedom to do some other stuff there, some potentially more, more variation in your melodies and that kind of stuff. But the cons are I don't really like how it sounds, and we'll get to later. Price wise, there's a big difference. Cinesymphony, I think sounds pretty cool. I enjoy it. I mean, the big argument really is whether it's worth taking the time to draw. What the difference? No, let's be clear. So, is it quicker to play the chords in? It probably is if you're good at piano, and then do the automation and the key switching at the same time, or draw that in afterwards, than it is to draw this in, with copy and pasting and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't take that long. And does it make a big difference to your sound? Personally, I think ostinato strings is far closer to where it should be compared to action strings. And then Cinesymphony and Spitfire Audio, I mean, they all sound great. And in terms of the usage, for some reason, action strings isn't telling me what it's using. So I'm guessing it's using a lot, would be my guess, but it's not telling me. I don't think it's that big actually, but it's not telling me what it's using. But for comparison purposes, Cinesymphony, I've only got 1 patch running. It's 320 megabytes, so it's substantially smaller than ostinato. And then Spitfire, I've actually to get it how I wanted it to sound, which is why I figured I'd do it this way, because if I'm going to do it, it's going to be how I want it to sound. It's got 3 different channels, but look, 39, 50, 40, it's tiny by comparison. And that's because I've only got those short notes activated. So it could be much bigger if I chose to have all these other mic positions on. But for that sort of close mic sound, I've obviously only gone for the close and the trees. But look, it's difficult, isn't it, really? If you look at price, for example, so I thought that would be interesting to look at. Ostinato's currently at 99 euros, which is really cheap, actually. Action strings is £250, which is extraordinary, really. Cinesamples, $279. So what, like 180, 190, something like that, pounds. And then by all means the most expensive, if you wanted to do it exactly how I did it, Spitfire Audio Albion 2 is $399, including VAT, and Albion 3 is also $399. So it's by far and above the most expensive. But what it comes down to is what do you like the sound of most, and how do you want to work? I guess that's what it comes down to. So look, see what you think. Let me know what your thoughts were. Chat to you in a bit.